Okay, so Carti, he stopped by the store once. This is a funny story. He stopped by the store one time. I was filming a podcast. The dude working there, Nate, he comes out as we're finishing the interview. He goes, hey, there's a fan who wants to take a picture or whatever. I walk out. It's Playboi Carti. He's riding one of our bikes. Like we did.
Wow.
Carti's riding around on our bike downtown. He's 2016, so people don't really know him like that. And I had a little conversation with him there, and he said,
Yo, what's going on, guys? You're watching Kids Take Over right now, Vancouver all the way to LA. We just got here yesterday, and no lie, bro, it's cooler doing this interview than the rapper interviews.
Really?
Do you ever feel like that? You know, when you interview like creators and stuff?
Oh yeah, because they're usually less reserved. They don't have a bunch of shit that they're hiding, and you know, it's like if it's your job to talk, that's always the best person to talk to. Like a lot of my best interviews / like the most views are the ones with like YouTubers, and a lot of times with the rappers, they only want to show so much of themselves, you know?
Yeah, true. And they always have like, I mean, I know your publicist is here, but they always have a publicist saying, don't say this, don't say that, you know? But nah, it's crazy, man. Yeah, I'm with Adam22 at the NoJumper studios. You know what's crazy, man? So we started like, let's say like 3 years ago, right? I would say like in our first year, you know, I would go in your live streams when you did like listening to music, right?
Really?
No, like not as an artist, but just as a viewer. And it was so funny. This one time, I was just trying to get your attention. I was like, yeah, I just want to see like, does he read the chat, right?
Right.
So I was like, yo, Adam, why don't you pay attention to small hip hop channels like us, right? Knowing the answer, like, I just wanted to see what you would say. And you actually responded. You're like, yo, well, you have to do something notable. It's not like, you know, it's not like I'm purposely not responding to you, right? Or paying attention to you. And then I was like, damn, what do I say now? I was like, yo, well, I did a SahBabii interview, right? And then you're like, okay, well, I did a SahBabii interview too. So, with that being said though, I think it's funny though, because what you said though was just so true. You know, you're like, do something notable and then it'll eventually happen over time, right? Yeah, I just kind of wanted to thank you for that, because that, you know, that kind of did fuel me to just be like, yo, let me get more up.
That's dope. That's good to hear. No, when I was being asked if I wanted to do this interview, I said to Laura was like, oh, that's dope that you're doing it because you turned it down a couple years ago. And I'm like, I turned it down. I'm like, I didn't turn it down. I accused her of being a liar, of course. And then she's like, sends me the screenshot. And I was just like, they don't have any followers. I don't know if I really want to do this, like whatever. And then, you know, but I'm totally impressed by everything that you built. And I don't even remember saying that on the stream, but damn, that's crazy. But yeah, I always kind of have like a policy, at least since my shit got bigger, because I have a lot of people hit me up like they want me to be their first interview. It's like, I'm down to fuck with you. Just show me that you're putting in the work, which, you know, you guys are totally killing it. So
yeah. Hey man, no, I appreciate that. And yeah, I think that just kind of goes for anyone, even if like, because there's so many artists that will hit up a page and be like, post this, right? But it's like, I don't know, it's like, why would we be the first page to post your thing? Like, start small and, you know, go up and up and up, right? Have you kind of had the same thing where like, you know, you had like a reality check when you were coming up and you were trying to interview someone, or you know what I'm talking about?
I feel like, yeah, we probably got X'd out of a lot of interviews for being small, but also just maybe for not necessarily like being like cool enough. Like, I don't know, I feel like at the time, like when I was trying to get Carti to do the interview that like way back in the day, like 2016, I felt like he felt like we had interviewed too many whack artists at the time, which like everybody talks about 2016, like, oh, that's when NoJumper was doing like the craziest interviews, but definitely like there were people, you know, anytime you're interviewing people, it's like you can't fuck with everybody, because you're always going to be interviewing some people that there's going to be somebody else who thinks they're whack and they think it's a stain on the brand or whatever. So yeah, I went through that like crazy. I mean, my attitude in the beginning was really just, I'm gonna just shoot my shot over and over and over and have no fucking pride about it. Just go for it. And I would go to people's listening parties. I would go to people's fucking events, concerts, just to, you know, say hi, shake their hand, just like show face. You know, I knew I needed to do all that shit, being that I was like brand new in the game, you know? Yeah,
I mean, well, there's that, but also like, you know, do you feel like what was your like rejection rate, you know? Because coming up, like, bro, if I sent 100 emails, I would say like 5 would go through, right?
I don't know what the rate would be, but it definitely was high in the beginning. And even to this day, you know, I'll just sit watching rap videos on YouTube and I'll DM 15 rappers in a night, just like on some regular shit, and maybe like 3 of them do the interview within the course of the next couple weeks, and then maybe like 5 of them don't respond, and a handful of them are kind of wishy-washy, and we go back and forth with the publicist and everything to get the interview lined up. But I always had the same attitude with interviews that I have with girls, which is that if I go to the bar and I talk to 50 girls, and it's like if I get 5 numbers and then one of them sleeps with me, I mean, hey,
yeah,
it works, right? You can't really focus on the failure. You just have to be ready to fail over and over and over.
Right. Now, the girl analogy is not what I was expecting, but I mean, it's true. It is pretty true. I mean, man, the one thing I was just so genuinely curious to ask you is about, I feel like you get a lot of slack for this nowadays, and it's that, people would be like, yo, Adam interviewed all these underground artists in 2016, 2017, 2018, and then you kind of eased into, just definitely more broad and people older. And I know you interview some underground artists still, but people would get mad at me if I didn't ask you, what was kind of the decision to ease into that other lane?
I mean, my attitude has always kind of been that I'm just doing interviews that I find interesting and trying to do a lot of interviews. I've never really thought that I was going to be the person who was just hunting down the interview that I know is going to be the interview that really kills it. My attitude has always been more I'm trying to do fucking 10 interviews this week. I'm trying to really, really grind this shit out. And, it is weird because it's we've gotten a lot of shit for kind of ignoring the up and coming SoundCloud wave per se, who, a lot of them aren't even really on SoundCloud like that, but they kind of get lumped in with that because they have some of the traits of the early SoundCloud rappers and everything. But then in the meantime, I mean, I feel like we've done a really great job with Detroit. There's a shitload of rappers coming out of Detroit. I feel like I got most of them, their biggest interviews, their first interviews, etc. I'm talking about Icewear Vezo and Really Young OG.
Yeah.
And, a lot of these up and coming SoundCloud rappers, I kind of wish the same with them, where it's the Summrs and Adams interviews. I could have easily got that early on and just kind of didn't think about it in time of how big they were kind of getting and how rabid their fan base was. Sometimes it does feel fuck, I'm kind of big now. Maybe I'm above interviewing really small artists, and I don't like to think about shit like that, but it's hard because I really do want to be everything to everybody, and I really do have respect for anybody who's a young person trying to make it as a musician and stuff.
Yeah.
But for me at this point, definitely I'm just trying to build the team bigger and bigger, and to the point where we can actually have enough people that we can really do a good job of covering all the different scenes all over the States.
That makes sense. That totally makes sense. I think the slack that if you get, it's not that you're not interviewing unknown rappers, is that you're not interviewing these younger people, right? And I personally I don't know, to me I kind of laugh at it because you're not 20, you're not 18, right. So your interests are going to change as you get older and stuff. So I think people kind of boxed you in as okay, no, he has to do these underground interviews, and why isn't he interviewing Sofaygo or Ken Carson and stuff? But it's I don't know, is that maybe that's not your full interest,
I would like to do those interviews for sure. That's my fault that we weren't active enough to be paying attention to people who are coming up before they hit the obvious level where they deserve that attention or whatever. But one thing that I realized over time with the underground is that there's 50 different undergrounds.
Dude,
and,
yeah.
And if you're an underground LA rap fan, if you pay attention to street rap and stuff, I don't really think anybody could be oh, this platform is doing a better job covering that scene than NoJumper. But it's there's a lot of different undergrounds. We never interviewed anybody from the Brockhampton world. That's a poppin' ass world that we don't really touch, and it would be dope to have people on board who could do a better job with that. But yeah, I mean, it gets tricky too, because it's at a certain point, a lot of the comments are, why are you interviewing this fucking nobody? We want to see you interview Carti. We want to see you interview Lil Durk or whatever. And it's for me, I've always kind of just gone back and forth trying to figure out so what the fuck am I doing over here? Because a lot of times I don't know. I'm just throwing paint at the wall. Even the fact that we got credit for being the place where SoundCloud rappers were doing their interviews or whatever early on. It's I didn't really plan on that at all.
That wasn't your intention at all, really?
That just kind of fell into place because that was just a lot of people that I was around,
Damn, I thought that's what you were trying to go for and cement yourself as the tastemaker of SoundCloud, basically,
Nah, I wasn't trying to be a tastemaker or anything. That's just what they put on me.
What's weird is that in the hip hop media space, and I realize this for rappers, people would do this for Uzi and Carti and whatever, but people will pin media people against each other, right? So they'll be you're better than NoJumper, but I'm why does that matter at all? Like, and how are we in the, like, we're in the same space technically, but also kind of not, right?
I mean, in terms of the media space, like I've always looked, like I'm a little competitive with it, but when you actually look at all the sort of top dogs in the media space, like me and Akademiks have gone through it, but me and Vlad and Akademiks and whoever, like Sean Khan, like we all talk and we all just like keep it cordial and we'll have conversations about business. Some people are closer than others. Like me and Vlad are like, he'll just tell me how much money he made. Like you know, a lot of times I see like the younger crew of, you know, interview people who are trying to blow up on YouTube and stuff, and they kind of feel like, oh, I'm gonna beef with this personality and that's gonna help me establish myself or whatever, and that's cool. I get that, because I mean I kind of probably did that at a certain point. I was definitely dissing like more established people that I felt weren't doing a good job, and that's fair, you know. One thing Akademiks said that I realized was totally true at that. He said, I have nothing to gain from beefing with another media personality. Yeah. And it's so true, because it's like we're all everyone who knows about Akademiks, not everyone, but a large percentage of them know about me.
Of course.
And a large percentage of people who know about Vlad know about me and know about Akademiks. We're all on each other's platforms and shit, so it's like, yeah.
Definitely, no, I feel that. And even with, you know, you mentioned Akademiks and Vlad. For me personally, like when I was coming up, right, the people that, I feel like you guys laid the blueprint to like how to do anything in hip hop media, but not so much Vlad. I would say it's more so you, Akademiks, and Cole Bennett. Even though Cole Bennett doesn't do interviews, I feel like just making content or.
Well, Cole showed me that you could monetize in a very different way. It doesn't have to be all about page views and shit. Like he created something unbelievably cool by saying no to a shitload of the opportunities that he was being presented, whereas I created something that I was basically saying yes to every opportunity, you know, and like there's definitely been a lot of people like that. I look at Say Cheese, and I'm sure that their amount that they make from AdSense every month is not the craziest amount in comparison to some of the other people that he's competing with, but he signs artists and he works artists and gets them signed to labels and gets his cut on what he's doing, and that was big when I realized that. I'm like, this motherfucker is monetizing the shit out of his platform in a totally different way that people can't even see.
I mean, well, in that case, what do you think of just in general, what do you think of hip hop media after you guys, you know, like, cause I feel like what I see online is I see a lot of IG pages, but I don't see a lot of like brands or people that have like original content, if you get what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of people. Well, but to me, it's like, it's really hard to stand out without making original content.
Yeah,
you know?
You're just another rap page. You know?
Yeah, because like just reposting shit or whatever. I mean, Akademiks or NoJumper have built our platforms to the point where if there's a video of 6ix9ine fighting with Meek Mill, we could post it and people consider us a good source to go and see that.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't think you're really going to be able to build a brand for yourself like that unless you're creating original shit. It just doesn't seem like it's that likely. So, or at least have like a different vantage point, because like there's a page that we all follow in this office called LA Hood Media.
Okay.
And it's exactly what it sounds like. It's just crazy ass, you know, shit, fights, like people getting caught up for doing crimes in LA and stuff like that. And it's like, he has a nice platform going because he focuses in on something very, very specific. And a lot of times when I look at the stories he covers, I'm like, this is too niche for NoJumper. It's just the characters involved are not big enough, you know?
Right.
So it makes sense.
Is there like, are there like any like mistakes you see like some, you know, younger like media platforms making that, you know, you kind of just look at and be like, damn, you know, you should maybe change that a bit, and you know?
I mean, a lot of times I just look at people doing like underground interviews and like, I'm just like, fuck, you need to work on asking better questions. Like a lot of people just chill too hard through interviews, or they just, like they don't feel comfortable pressing an artist or asking them like an actual interesting question, you know? And I get a lot of shit for asking shit that's too controversial. Vlad obviously gets shit for that, etc. But to me, it's like, if you're gonna do interviews, you gotta ask the shit that the people wanna hear, or at least try. And the other thing I hate too is that artists have a tendency to come on camera and just start talking about how great everything is.
Yeah.
And I'm watching the interview and I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Like, that's not true.
Your career is not going that good. Like, what the fuck? And I'm watching the interviewers sit there and just big them up and just let them lie to the audience. And I'm like, what the fuck? What are you even here for if you're not gonna like challenge some of these crazy, preposterous things that are coming out of this dude's mouth? So.
Right. You can ask a risky question, but it doesn't have to be controversial, or like doesn't have to be like, you know, federal or whatever. It could be like just, you know, Charlemagne does it to like the furthest extent, but you could have like a middle ground where you, like you said, you kind of challenge them a little, right?
At a certain point, this is a very important quote that I read one time. if it's positive, no, if it's negative, it's news.
Okay.
If it's positive, it's PR.
Okay.
Anytime if you crack open a magazine at the airport, if it's a positive article about somebody, it's PR. Their PR team lined it up. They fucking made that happen.
Yeah.
If you read an article and it's negative, then it's probably news because nobody's like paying people to write negative stories about them or whatever. But yeah, I mean, you just don't want to be somebody who's just strictly doing PR on behalf of the labels. You know, that's never gonna really win you like a real fan base.
Fair. I think like Apple Music's like Zane Lowe's interviews are kind of like that in the sense, but you know that completely makes sense because that's a streaming platform and like why would they challenge? Like, doesn't make sense.
And they have such a huge platform that it would be super messy if he were to be asking about certain things. But that's also why, respect Zane Lowe. I don't know anything about him, but I mean, if you were to ask 100 rap fans who their favorite rapper interviewer was, I doubt his name is coming up too much. So.
Yeah. I respect him for doing his own thing, you know. But no, I feel what you're trying to say. I think. This I'm super curious about, and you could speak on it as much as you want, but like what are the different ways that NoJumper makes money in, because I think the most obvious thing that people see is like, okay, they make a ton of money off ad revenue. You guys put out so many videos, they do views obviously. I'm sure you guys have like sponsors for your show.
I'm gonna forget some of them, but the YouTube money for sure is a huge part of it. Then the brands that sponsor us, like in terms of the Manscapes and all the MyBookies and all that kind of shit.
MyBookie, what's that?
It's like a gambling thing or betting on sports, And so those are big. And then we sell merch, which does quite well. And then we do the streams where we have people send in their music for donations and everything like that. Yeah. We make money off of like when the ads get like automatically inserted through the podcast streaming apps or whatever. So if you listen to our shit on Apple or Spotify or whatever, we'll get money from that. And that actually blew my mind that check is like very significant.
Is it? What the heck?
We just monetized that way. Like I'll hook it up if you want to get on there too. But we just monetized that way like a couple months ago. And the other day, Josh told me how much we made from it, and I was just like, this is criminal that we didn't do this before. Like, what the fuck were we thinking? Facebook all of a sudden is just huge for us. Like,
Facebook.
And I don't even look at it. I don't know what the fuck is going on there, but it's stupid as fuck. And a lot of people say that, like, Vlad. I think Vlad almost makes more money from Facebook than from YouTube, which is.
But what on Facebook? Like, how do you make
ads? Like, they just run ads through it. Yeah, like Facebook is crazy as fuck. I mean. We make some money from TikTok, and Instagram Reels is supposed to be able to pay you money, but it's not currently. Like, we can't sign up, but a lot of other people signed up. Patreon obviously does really good. I think that the adpocalypse really showed me that it's like, because I was happy as fuck at that time because I was just grinding it out on YouTube, and I was making like $45,000 a month at that time. And then
from YouTube?
Yeah, and the adpocalypse turned it into like $4,000 or $5,000 a month. Yeah. So I got this crazy reality check, and that's when I started doing the merch, and that's when I started streaming music, and I just realized like, fuck, I need to have a whole plethora of different revenue sources because you never know what the fuck is gonna happen in this shit.
Well, what I've noticed is, at least for me, is a lot of the ways we make money, and a lot of the ways you just mentioned too, has to do with like your relevance, right? And like how many views you're getting and things like that.
Instagram promo. I just want to throw that in there too. People pay for posts on Instagram. That's a huge thing.
Right, like artists and labels and stuff.
Yeah.
But a lot of these things, even that technically, it's like, you get paid for how many followers you have and whatnot, right? So have you ever thought about like, damn, what if one day like NoJumper's numbers are like low? How am I gonna make the same amount of money that I wanted to make?
Yeah, I mean, we've always had like ups and downs, like there's just been time periods where the views were like significantly less, and we've had months that were just ridiculous. If you look at the history of NoJumper's views or revenue or whatever, there's like the day X died, we got like 5 times as many views as we've ever gotten any other day on the channel, which is like obviously a terrible thing, but I mean, it's just, you can't look at your best month and be like, oh, my next month's gonna be like this. No, you ride out that surge and you're like, okay, this is dope, but I'm not expecting this to last.
I feel that. I think what we were gonna do is, I just had this like crisis at one point. I was like, damn, what if one day that happens? Is like, we get like super low views, and we're still coming up, obviously. But I was like, damn. So what we should do is we should create like a creative agency where we. Because a lot of our brand is like, oh, it looks so good, right? Everything looks so good. It's, So I was like, damn, what if we like made content for other brands And what if they weren't even like music brands? What if it was like, I don't know, let's say it was like a real estate agent or something and he wanted like, because a lot of businesses now, they want content, whether it's for TikTok or whatever, right? So I was like, damn, what if we make like a creative agency and they do work for other brands? Because that doesn't involve our numbers at all. You know what I'm saying?
You don't have to sacrifice your brand, because the truth is that if you, let's say you started putting out a YouTube video every day, I mean, the quality's gonna go down no matter how good a job you do. It's just not gonna be as appealing as where it's at right now. And you always kind of end up like sacrificing your brand in a way. And like, you know, I even think about that now with the Instagram page. It's like, shit, our brand could look cooler if we just didn't take any of these ads, and I don't need that fucking ad money. So maybe we just won't do that anymore. Like, we used to post music videos on the YouTube.
Yeah, you stopped doing that.
I could never imagine doing that now, because it just makes the brand look too whack.
It dilutes your brand like crazy.
Like crazy. But I needed the money at that time, because that's before we were as established. So I was just kind of, oh shit, you got $1,000? Video's going up, let's do it.
Yeah. Is
Is
that what you were charging, $1,000 for a video to go up?
I think at that time, I might
I
charge
feel you guys
more.
are worth much more, dude.
I know, but if I was doing 10 a week, then I was like, shit, all right, well,
okay, there you go.
Fuck it. You know,
that makes sense.
But a shitload of people just ruin any chance that they might have of having like influence just by sort of chasing the short-term money.
Short-term money, for sure, man. Definitely. That's with a lot of IG promo as well. As, you know, if you could flood your page with like, and bro, come on. I know at this point, and a lot of people don't know this, but bro, like, 90% of what you see on a rap page is all paid for. Yeah, but it's crazy how people don't know that.
Even the stuff that you would never guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like maybe not like Drake, but even Drake sometimes.
Well, somebody like me or Akademiks or whoever, we'll have 10, 20, however many artists we genuinely feel are hot right now that are going to do views. So those are the ones that we focus on, or the people that we think are dope. And then on top of that, you know, you have all the stuff that the labels are basically paying you to make look cool.
Yeah.
And, you know, it can be kind of like an ugly thing when you really think about that, especially like me just knowing how it works and like seeing our page post about somebody 10 times and I'm just thinking like, fuck, like, is there anyone out there who actually thinks that we like this dude? Like,
dude, literally, yeah.
Do we look crazy right now? But I mean,
nah.
That's what the game is right now, at least on Instagram.
I've thought about that so many times where I'm like, damn, it is kind of weird how like, you know, this artist is getting so successful, but it's just because their label is backing them. It's not because of like how good they are and whatnot, right? But yeah, I don't know. Sometimes I feel bad. I'm like, you know, the general audience of rap bands just don't know that, you know,
and sometimes there'll be an artist who is coming up and I think they're dope as fuck. And my mentality is like, oh, I'm gonna cover everything this person does. Like, I'm gonna tell the team, if this guy farts in the shower and there's a video of it, we're posting that shit because this dude is hot right now.
Yeah.
And then the label hits us up and they're like, yo, we'd like to buy 5 posts.
Yeah.
And so we got 5 posts about that dude. And then it's kind of like, well, shit, do I want to keep posting about him or do I want to wait for the label to fucking send the check, you know?
Yeah.
It's kind of like a weird decision because some of the biggest artists are the ones whose labels are paying us to post about them.
Right. Yeah. And if you keep posting it, then they're not going to, why would they reach out? It's free promo.
No, it's tough. I've had shit where labels paid for a post.
Yeah.
And we had already posted that exact thing like 2 or 3 days before.
Like the exact same video you're saying?
Thing.
Oh my God.
And then they pay us to post it. And I'm low key wondering, like, are they going to notice that the views aren't very good on this because we had already posted it? But
that's their fault. Like, how could you be a digital marketing person and not look at the page and see that it's already there?
Because they buy the posts in bulk through agencies a lot of times, where they'll have 10 different accounts. So if you see us and the rap account and Akademiks or whoever, if you see us all post the same thing,
it's because we'll all do this. Okay, makes sense. Yeah. Okay. Well, this is what I wanted to ask you. So I'm in a spot right now, right, where I feel like our brand, it's like cool for artists to come on, right? Because it's like we're the young thing and whatnot, right? Or like, let's say Aiden Ross, for example, like every artist, every label is trying to get their artists or whatever on Aiden Ross, right? It makes them look cool as fuck. But then I feel like there's a lot of artists that, you know, they have this kind of mindset where they won't choose to do that, but they'll choose to do something that's like a radio interview, right? Which is, in my opinion, I do not like radio interviews because they're just, that's PR. Like, you know, you're talking about news and PR, that's PR, right? So yeah, you know, it kind of just frustrates me sometimes. I'm like, damn, like, do I try to convince these people or do I just kind of like wait and see until they come to me, you know?
Yeah, no, I've been there plenty of times where it's like they just do the radio interview and I'm like, you know that shit's whack. I know you didn't want to do it, but you probably just listen to your manager or whatever, because a lot of times they're trying to win favors. You know, they think that if they do the Breakfast Club that they're going to get played on Hot 97 or whatever it is, you know. So, yeah, I mean, that can be tough, and it's kind of like, I saw that early on. Like I kind of saw the writing on the wall with NoJumper that like if the brand's ideal was just, oh, we get the artist first.
Yeah.
That it was just, that's not like a solid enough platform to base a brand on. And it is a very good thing to have as part of your brand, but I just sort of over time started to realize like, I need to be able to do a lot more than that. And I need to build up all these other hosts and.
Agreed. Okay. So what's stopping you? Because dude, your numbers, like, honestly, like I checked NoJumper's numbers like 2 days ago. I'm like, yo, you guys are like low-key doing better than ever. Because it's not even just that you're getting views, but it's you're putting out so many videos, right? What's stopping you from getting like the Drakes or like the Cardis or Travis Scotts?
I mean, why do those motherfuckers not do interviews anyway? You know, like who did Travis Scott do his with? Charlamagne, right?
Charlamagne, yeah. Like, but my question is like, why did he do it with Charlamagne, but he didn't want to do it with you?
I mean, there's probably a lot of reasons. You know, Charlamagne was very much like an accepted part of the rap like industry at this point, and you know he's going to give Travis Scott what he wants. He's going to give him a safe interview. You know, he's not going to ask some crazy ass questions or whatever. If Travis gives him an answer, he's going to say, oh, all right. He's not going to challenge him. He's not going to press. You know, so I could see that probably being like a big part of it. In terms of somebody like Drake, it's like, I mean, he did one interview in the past however many years with Rap Radar, and he edited it, and they put it on his channel.
Yeah.
I mean, you know,
wait, that's on Drake's channel?
Yeah.
Oh, what the fuck?
And it's like he edited, like his team edited the footage. Like Rap Radar never had the footage, which says a lot about how much Drake likes to, you know, control his narrative. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Sometimes, and if anything, the problem is getting worse, which is a big reason why, for me, building these casts of characters and having so many different faces on our channel is a big part of like what I think is keeping NoJumper fresh. Because it's like nowadays when somebody wants to do an interview, I mean, they could go do an interview with Nori, who's like, you know, a super relevant rapper from when I was a kid, or LeBron James and Jay-Z while you're getting a haircut or some shit. You know, it's like, there's just so many, there's so, like when a lot of times when I look at the interview space, it does feel a little demotivating because I'm like, this shit is blown out. There's way too many people doing this. It doesn't feel cool to me anymore. It doesn't feel unique or new or whatever. Whereas when I started and I'm interviewing fucking Pouya and Fat Nick, it felt like this is sick as fuck because nobody else is gonna do this. Definitely like a brand needs to like figure out how they're gonna be relevant for reasons aside from just you interview cool people, because there's a lot of cool ass people doing interviews nowadays, and it's only going to get worse because every year that goes by, there's more rappers that become irrelevant. That are like, fuck, maybe I'll start a podcast.
Yo, that's so true. Then they become a host. Damn. Well, you mentioned Drake. What's your relationship like? What's your relationship like people like Drake and Carti and Travis? Have you ever tried like DMing them and stuff?
Travis, I've talked openly on the podcast about how I don't like his music, and I think he's
you
overrated.
You don't like Astroworld, for I can't understand why, but you know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Sorry, I was gonna say one more thing. There's no way I can end the interview and not ask this. We put up a post and I said Whole Lotta Red was a top 10 album of all time, and you just put like straight laughing emojis, and I'm like, bro, one, now you're not getting the Carti interview, all right?
Well, okay, so Carti, he stopped by the store once. This is a funny story. He stopped by the store one time. I was filming a podcast, and there's an employee in the front. This is downtown where there's like basically no separation. Like if we're doing a podcast in the back, you can hear it in the front if you're buying a bike tire or whatever. So the dude working there, Nate, he comes out as we're finishing the interview. He goes, hey, there's a fan who wants to take a picture or whatever. I walk out, it's Playboi Carti. It's like 2016. The dude working there doesn't know who he is or whatever. I knew who he was. He's riding one of our bikes. Like we did. Carti's riding around on our bike downtown. He's 2016, so people don't really know him like that. Whatever. That's why there's a picture of Carti backstage with the old NoJumper. And so then after that, I went up to him at a show. He came out. I think he performed one song at a show, or maybe it was like a shitty little warehouse show, and I had a little conversation with him there, and he said he wanted to do it. I mean, the reason why I was laughing is because if you're talking about like top 10 albums of all time, you didn't even specify rap albums or like hip hop albums. That includes everything. You got to put the Beatles in there. Like, there's a lot of Beatles. I'm just saying, like, you know, there's a lot of albums that need to be considered. Also, our ability to judge the impact long term of Whole Lotta Red is, you know, ridiculous. Like you can't have an accurate viewpoint on it right now in terms of all time. You could say it's one of the top. I wouldn't give it top 10 albums of the year because I thought it sucked.
The year,
I agree that it was very influential. Like I see the influence it has on a shitload of people.
Even though Yeet and like, you know.
Yeah, myself personally, I don't want to listen to it, which is, you know, probably also partially because I'm 38.
Let's revisit that in 10 years.
But I mean,
okay, I had to ask this, man. I was gonna wear this shirt today to this interview, and and I actually bought it. And it was remember when FouseyTube came to, and that whole fiasco happened, dude. I literally bought that shirt because that was the most entertaining piece of content you ever had. And I didn't wear it because I'm like, what if he sees it and like it's like a down moment in his life, you know?
No, that was unbelievable.
I don't need yes men on the internet to tell me who the fuck I am, you little bitch.
WWE guy.
Yeah.
That was a great moment.
No, it was down moment for him, I'm saying.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, for you, it was fucking...
For me, that made me feel like, fuck, maybe I should just sit in the back of the store every day, all day, and just see what YouTubers show up because they just kept coming that day. But I mean, it was the most mind-blowing 5 hours or whatever that I was just sitting there, taking that in. It was totally ridiculous. That was right after the adpocalypse, if I'm remembering correctly. And it was like, we put that shirt out, and I think we sold like $30,000 worth of shirts the next day.
I was one of those people.
And I was just like, phew, like fucking, maybe we're not gonna go broke because...
Just keep selling Fousey shirts.
Yeah.
That's the new...
And at one point he tried to bring it up and be like, I think I should get some money off that shit. And I was like, tough luck. Sue me.
Should have said it earlier, yeah.
Fuck you.
Yeah.
Sue me. Like,
So are you still friends with Fousey?
we're cool. Like he came through semi-recently, and I see him doing better and stuff. And even that was a learning experience for me too, because at that time we were live, so there's all this fucked up shit happening on camera that probably wouldn't have made it to the airwaves if we had just been recording it. Not that so much, because that was just awesome. But like when Boonk fell and fucking smashed his face on the wall, I would not have put that out. But it happened live, so I had no fucking choice but to clickbait it and get people to watch it, you know. And
Man, if I was you, right, I would give a show. I would make a show, right, and I would make Fousey and Selena Powell the hosts, and I think that would be the best show. It might even overtake your regular interviews.
Yeah,
if I'm being honest.
Because when you look at the formula that works for podcasts, a lot of times it's like you take one person who's pretty unstable, and you have somebody who's like pretty stable, and you put them together. Like I'm thinking like H3 and Trisha Paytas.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you take somebody who's completely out of their mind, and then somebody who's kind of straight laced, and then you just let the fireworks happen. And
True, or maybe even maybe even Fousey, Selena Powell, and Dame Dash. That would just clash. And
I was just thinking about Dame Dash when I was saying that too. It's like
Yeah, I
me and
knew
him
you,
trying to podcast together. It's like I'm the straight guy in this conversation, and he's the wild card. And
okay, the Dame Dash one, dude. Yeah, I just felt so bad because I'm like, you're here trying to be like as nice as you can, right? But everything you say, he's just like, nah, I need to find an argument for this. There's no way I can't accept what he just said, you know? Yeah, tough. But let's say you've interviewed an artist before, right? And let's say they were super hot in like 2018. In like 2021, what do you do if like that artist is like trying to hit you up and be like, yo, Adam, post my song or whatever, and he keeps doing it, and if you don't do it, he's just, you know, he's gonna either beef with you or just not talk to you. Like, how do you feel about that?
I mean,
that happens with you, right?
Oh yeah,
obviously, yeah.
A lot of times I just ignore them because it's just like, you know, it's just like, you know what I do here. You know that we cover, you know, artists that are new, doing their first time thing. You know that you don't have anything going on right now. You're asking me to do an interview. You know it's not going to benefit me in any way. You know it's not going to benefit the audience. You know the audience doesn't want to hear from you right now if you were to be honest with yourself. So a lot of times I just leave them on red. Or sometimes if I'm like really cool with them, I'll like hit them up and sort of explain like, you know, it's not happening right now. Like, I don't think the world needs to see this interview or whatever, or I'll explain that to somebody on their team or whatever. For the most part, honestly, I get so much shit like that I've gotten really good at just sort of glazing over and just being like, whatever. Like, I'm just not, you know, it's just, you kind of have to like numb yourself to it.
Do you leave it on scene, or do you actually just not read the DM? Or do you like read it from the top?
That's a huge advantage when you can not click on it. Like when you can just see enough of the message that you know you don't have to click it, because then you could sort of pass it off as being an accident. It's so obvious that you're just being selfish, that you just want this interview because, you know, like, give me something good to talk about. Like, give me some, like, that. If a person wants an interview, don't just say I want an interview. In general, like, even if you are well known, say I want an interview because I want to talk about this, this, and this.
Yeah.
And that, like, I'll interview a fucking nobody if they have an amazing story. But at the same time, like, if you're just a guy who maybe had one song, you had a Lyrical Lemonade video 4 years ago, and realistically nothing has happened since then, and now you want to do an interview, it's like,
I don't know if you like go to clubs and shit, but like, you know, when you go out and let's say like a festival like Rolling Loud, or if you go there, then I don't know if they're not gonna like run up on you or whatever, but like it's just weird vibes, you know. Everyone, like Rich the Kid, for example, dude, Cole Bennett turned on a video for him and Lil Wayne. It's like, dude, So what? Like, you know, and then he like exposed him for like.
He kind of implied racist.
I think he said culture vulture.
Like, you a white man telling everybody no.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely can be awkward, but ultimately, I just don't care. It's like, you know, I'm doing me. It's about our audience. It's about what I want to do.
Yeah.
You're not gonna bully me into doing an interview with you. If you're offended, I don't give a fuck. Like, I'm very focused on doing my thing, running the business, and trying to not like get a big head or not start treating myself like I'm a big deal or anything like that. And when you have people just sucking your dick everywhere you fucking go, it's just like, bro, like, respect my desire to act like a normal person.
Facts.
Don't come up to me saying this bullshit because I don't want to hear it. I'm fucking hanging out with my friends here or whatever. I'm at the mall. I'm not gonna listen to your album. Get the fuck away from me. It's not like, I don't even think it's rude.
What if it was the other way around, where let's say like, I know there was like this rap battle thing that shit like you went to, and like Drake was there, right?
Right.
Would you ask Drake in that setting, like, yo, so do you ever want to do an interview one day? Like,
If I want to talk to Drake, I can just DM Drake because
you guys follow each other, right?
Yeah, and he'll hit me up about super random shit. Like, I fucking interviewed some YouTube girl the other day from Toronto, and he hit me up just hyped that I did the interview, and I'm just like, that's what, like, I've interviewed your artists, and you didn't bother to DM me about it,
Smiley and
but
shit.
you know, like, just like random shit like that. But when I saw him at that thing, I kept it cool. I'm not like, because I get what it's like to be him so much more than I would have 5 years ago or 6 years ago when I started doing this.
Facts. Yo, I mean, that's pretty much it. But, you know, I did want to ask you one last thing, right? Nowadays, even you kind of mentioned it too, like, us doing this, like the media thing in hip hop specifically, is like getting more and more popular. Everyone wants to do it, right? Mm-hmm. To a certain extent. What's specific advice you would give to like KTO?
I mean, for you guys, I would say just focus on doing the coolest shit possible and don't worry that much about money. You know, obviously you gotta pay the bills, and obviously it's a very aspirational thing to be able to make a fucking cool ass living off of just doing the content that you already want to do. But I would just say, you know, when I think about NoJumper now that I'm at the point where realistically money-wise we're good, it's like, fuck. Now I can kind of just try to figure out what I want this to look like. Whereas for years, I sort of felt like, fuck, I'm being governed by the money, where I have to do things to get paid, etc. With you guys, like, you have such a dope brand name. You have a business that, you know, is like a Lyrical Lemonade early on, where it's like you just haven't bastardized it. And I would just say, you know, just do all the coolest shit that you can and don't make any compromises. And just, a lot of my regrets kind of are just like doing corny shit that was to pay the bills, which maybe I needed to do it at the time, but ultimately it doesn't feel great to kind of look back on a lot of that stuff, even though I probably nobody remembers a huge percentage of the stuff that I think is cringy in retrospect, you know?
Right. Hey man, I appreciate that so much. I'll keep that in mind. And yeah, you know, it is tempting to be like, oh, well, you know, we need the money and this and stuff, but you know, there's ways to do it without diluting your brand and shit like that. So I'll definitely keep that in mind, bro. It's dope to finally check out the office and shit, man. It's like,
yeah, no, I'm kind of embarrassed because we got a new office we're supposed to be moving into in like a week or two or whatever. We're closing the deal right now, but we're still not in there. So hopefully,
you're gonna move out of here?
Hell yeah, out of here ASAP. Yeah.
Damn. Okay. Well, hopefully when I come to LA next time, I could check out the new office, man.
Definitely. Let's do
it.
it.
Appreciate it, bro.
Appreciate you, man. Thank you so much.
Adam22, KTO. Let's go. Yo, what's going on, guys? If you don't already know, I'm in LA right now, man. I'm trying to get these interviews for you guys, and I'm not gonna lie, there's like, what, a week left, and pretty bad so far, man. Like, things just did not fall through. I tried my best, and I think this Adam22 thing was probably one of the better videos we got. So just bear with me, man. I'm really trying for you guys. But that's just the struggles that come with being a creator and like traveling to a different city and expecting, you know, to make your like dreams come true. But drop a like and comment on this video. You guys know that helps so much. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't. And yo, if you want to keep up more with the LA trip, you should probably follow our Instagram, because that's where all of the updates are going to be, at Kids Take Over. And yeah, I'll see you guys next week. Week to week videos now, no more breaks.